Here we go. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for jumping on this webinar that we're hosting today with Micah Cannon at Club Capital. And you might think, I haven't heard of Club Capital. Well, he's going to tell you a lot more about what they do, but it's a lot of things when it comes to the agency economics, from accounting to knowing your numbers, looking at all of your expenses. Now, Craig and I are going to do a webinar next week for all state agents about the grids, all the grids that were just announced. And honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised with the grids. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pleasantly surprised. So we're gonna be doing a webinar next week on staffing levels, marketing budgets, lead sources. We'll probably have some guests on, about business planning for next year, right? But how can you plan without knowing your numbers? I'm shocked every day that I talk to owners. There's at least one time I'll ask normal numbers. What's your payroll? How much do you pay this person? How much are you spending on this lead source? What percentage of your budget goes towards paying down the debt? Whatever. Heck, sometimes, how many items do you average a month? And they're like, well, hold on, let me pull up Agency Zoom. Guys, gals, we've got to know our numbers. We have to know our numbers, okay? So I was introduced to Club Capital a couple weeks ago. A really well-known agent, Laura Harris, I'll go ahead and say it. Laura Harris is a proponent, and she's very well respected and amazing. So I heard about Club Capital. We connected. They're actually going to be coming to our event in a couple months in Orlando, February 20th and 21st. When we were talking, I was like, do this for our members. I think that you'll learn a lot about what to look for, right? What to look for in terms of your expenses and income and trends. And it's just an awesome program. Now, this is not a pitch webinar. You don't have to join Club Capital to take value from today. So thank you to Micah for giving all this content to us and things to think about. And of course, if you end up wanting to do business with Club Capital, fantastic. That would probably be a great idea. But with all that said, thank you guys for jumping on the call. I'm going to pass it over here to Micah, and he's going to take it away for a bit and do maybe 20 minutes, I guess, of demo / presentation / number analysis, and then we can take your questions. So if you can, I forgot to say this, open up the should we do Q&A or chat? We've been chatting already. Let's just stick with chat. Chat questions all throughout the webinar. If Micah says something that triggers something, or if I do that triggers something, don't wait. Go ahead and just chat it. I'll kind of moderate those questions after Micah does his presentation, and we'll be done in probably 40 minutes or so. So with that said, and again, everyone, I hope that you appreciate Micah's time, because he's about to give you a lot of value. Micah, take it away.
All right, will do, Joseph. Thank you so much for the introduction, and good to be able to meet everybody virtually. Excited to be able to kick this off here in December before we probably meet a lot of you at the February event down in Orlando. So really excited about that. As Joseph mentioned, we are kind of newer to the all-state space, but we've been in the insurance agency space for the past 3 years, kind of more on the State Farm side. Got introduced to Laura Harris and some other members recently, and so kind of that's what's brought us to where we are today. So today we definitely will dive into really, the whole aspect of knowing your numbers is really what Club Capital is about. So we do the numbers kind of more behind the scenes, what we like to call and what you might refer to as the back office. So not necessarily the front office sales side of things that you'll use things like Agency Zoom or other products for, but knowing the actual key metrics to track for the back of the office, the profit, the total expenses in each category. How are you trending over time? Are you actually planning for profitability? Things like that. So we'll dive in today, just give, I guess, a little bit of an overview more of Club Capital. A lot of people might think about us as a CPA firm when they hear about some of the things that we do. And technically, yes, we do a lot of things that CPA firms do, but we're much different than what I think most typical CPA firms are that people deal with around the country. We are incredibly technology focused. We use a lot of different platforms that really streamline your entire back office, and we'll dive into a little bit more of what that means but it's every single aspect of the back office side of the house that not only gives you transparency into your numbers, but it really allows you to run a more efficient office, a more engaged office with your employees. So using payroll and HR platforms that actually, they're not just a tool to run payroll, but they're actually something that all of your employees will actually use and log into every day and interact with things such as PTO, time tracking, benefits management, things like that. And then the entire accounting and reporting side of the house, where we really do a lot of the work, is not just do the bookkeeping, but actually show it to you in really easy to read and use analytics and reporting software that make it just much more manageable and attainable to track your budgets on a regular basis. And then what's really cool is because we only work with agents across the country, we can then benchmark your financials against everybody else that we work with. So some really cool stuff that we'll dive into. We are about 3 years old or so. We got started in the State Farm space. One of our founders is a State Farm agent out of Bethesda, Maryland, which is where we're located here, just north of DC. And so we got started on the premise of, one of our founders, State Farm agent, is a second generation owner. So his dad is, I feel like now that I've gotten into this, this kind of runs in everybody's family, second, third, fourth generation agents. And so he set his agency up, kind of the whole systems aspect of it, the way his dad did, the way some of his friends did that he was going into agency with around the same time. And it really took him about a couple of years for him to kind of think, what am I doing here? I don't really have much transparency into my numbers on a regular basis. And every time I do kind of get my numbers, the first question I have is, are these good? Is this where they wanted to be? How does it stack up to everybody else? And a lot of people can, from the different companies, from State Farm to Allstate to different platforms out there, you can kind of understand how you're doing from a sales perspective, from the amount of policies you write per month, things like that. But just from the business ownership perspective, how are you doing? Those questions that Joseph was asking earlier, how many team members do you have? What % of your revenue do you spend on employees? Those are the types of things a lot of agents, when they get together, those are the things they're asking, right? And so why not do that every month? And so this is a good buddy of mine that I went to college with. We created Club Capital and this platform really to serve his issue and the issue of some of the members in his study group. And so we had some of the early adopters in the State Farm space kind of built kind of a lot of the financial metrics based on kind of what they wanted to talk about. And they really, what we've seen is we built it for them. It's grown tremendously across the past 3 years. We're now in 40 states right now. We've got obviously hundreds of agents on the State Farm side. We just came on board with Allstate, I think probably in October of this year. So it's been great. Been at a number of events kind of through just the network of some of the agents that we've brought on board already. And we've got a couple of mega agents on board now, which has been really interesting to work with them and really start to build out some of the analytics, some of the benchmarking capabilities based upon the feedback that we're getting from some of our initial agents. That's a little bit more of the background of us, and just kind of to dive into kind of why Club Capital and why kind of what services do we really put together. A lot of what we see out there is what we call the legal must-haves. So when we think of the back office, right, everybody has payroll and everybody's got a CPA for taxes. And that's great. But there's also some, what we'll call the business must-haves, and what's something that we actually see a lot of agents lack in the overall financial infrastructure. And that's including kind of an HR and benefits piece to their back office. And then monthly financial reporting. Everybody gets started off with payroll and taxes, and then at the end of the year, a lot of times, and especially what our founder saw too, is that the only time they truly knew how they were doing was at the end of the year when they needed to get things ready for taxes, which is where we are today. We've got a lot of people coming on board having us catch them up for the entire year. We can do that. We're happy to do that. But we really want to bring you on board to a system where we're pushing out financial reports to you every single month, so that you're logging in to our system, looking at your numbers, looking at how they compare to the targets that we help set for you. So these aren't just the revenue targets, but the expense targets and profitability targets as well. So we can start to say, okay, are we trending the way we want to trend to? And from my understanding too, with a lot of changes happening right now in the Allstate space, going into next year, understanding your numbers is going to be crucial. Okay. So this is really where we come together. We've got a Club Capital accountant assigned, directly to you and your account that you can reach for kind of all of these. So instead of using vendors across kind of every space here, from payroll to taxes to we'll call it the bookkeeping, and then HR and benefits, you've got one place to go to for any questions that you have. Okay. There's a ton to go here into here. I probably won't get there. The biggest thing probably in the bottom center is just to say profit's not an accident, right? So you can't manage what you can't measure. So if you're trying to increase that profit number, you got to know where you're at, and you got to know where you're at all the time. So it's just what we drive home most of the time. So showing this to Joseph a little bit, maybe a couple weeks ago, when we chatted. And I think the best thing to do, sometimes we dive into a couple screenshots here. I'd love to just go into the platform itself and show people what some of this looks like. I'll pull up our payroll platform first. So the Club Capital payroll platform is powered by a company called Gusto that a lot of people probably have not heard of. Only a couple do we see have on it. It's actually quite a large company kind of disrupting the space right now. And the reason why we like them is that, as I mentioned before, we want to transform agents from using something to be a tool to run payroll, the thing you must do, right, pay your employees, to have it be much more of an engaging platform that we call it the people platform. It's everything related to the people of your agency. So yes, you obviously run payroll, but you can also really do a lot of the onboarding, employee onboarding HR piece of this all in one place. So if we look down the left-hand side here, just to even look at some of the different sections, running payroll, paying contractors and 1099s directly out of the system, time tracking, so setting up time tracking for all of your hourly employees can be done right within the same system. Don't use, you don't need to have yet another system to track that, or let alone Excel if we're trying to do that too. And another big Excel trap is tracking PTO and time off. So being able to actually set up a system and multiple policies to track time off throughout the year and apply it to different accounts. You can even have employees log in, request time off from their manager. It doesn't always have to go to the agent, but whoever their manager is, and they can approve that time off through the system. You can set up your paid holidays. So any holiday that you automatically have goes in here automatically so that it gets included into the payroll as well. So this isn't something you're having to think about when it comes to running payroll. It should just be with normally under 5 minutes to be able to run payroll every time. Benefits are also pretty amazing to the system. So keep in mind, Club Capital uses everything that we talk about here for our own company. But through Gusto, you can actually integrate, your health benefits as well as any 401ks, retirement benefits that you have. So it's all in one system. One great experience for employees to have everything here. They can change things on their own. This is without talking to you. They can log in if they need to change some of their benefits around. They need to change how much that they're contributing to their 401k. They can do so within here. And then especially on the agent side of it is really people aren't coming to the agent or to the office manager, say if they're manager, to make some changes. So it just takes some time away there and allows you to just give them a platform that enables them to do whatever they need to do. So this is just an example of even some of the benefits that can be within here. You don't necessarily you aren't set up on a Gusto plan. It's really, they can just integrate the plan that you're normally using. There are some states that they're not doing this for right now. I know Joseph's opinion on the side is that they're not doing Alabama as of right now. But I think there's about just about 7 or 8 states that this is not active for, so just a caveat on that side of it. But for most states out there, being able to integrate your health policies into the system is just a huge win. And they can do so on the benefits, on the 401k side as well. So the 401k, they use a platform called Guideline, but being able to just integrate it so that's automatic, and no matter what, no matter when you're running payroll, those deductions are made automatically, and you're not having to keep track of it and go into another system and make the appropriate payments. Those are done seamlessly. Anybody that lives in a bigger city too, being able to offer commuter benefits is huge. So anyone in a larger city, such as DC where we are, you can set up commuter benefits so that there's pre-tax dollars going to it's actually like a debit card that can be used specifically for parking, for Metro transit, things like that. Another thing, just to focus on here, team insights and then documents. So team insights is a way to set up surveys for the entire company. So this will go out once a month, and there are different topics that in surveys that Gusto will send out to employees that need to be completed every month. It'll remind them what to complete. Normally about 5 questions. It's just a really good way to gauge how the office is doing. So some of this could be, so you will see some of this here, morale and retention, management, benefits, and it'll just kind of get a gauge of, how do people feel is going on. So this is great for companies, really, I mean, it's great for any size company, but especially if you're, more than 5 employees. Once it's less than 5 employees, there's not a lot of anonymity to who's saying what. But generally speaking, you want to be able to say, hey, what's going on here? How do you guys feel about this? Should we have a conversation? Does anything need to change? There's a great ability to have that in the office. And then documents, just to look at here, you can send offer letters and anything that happens during the onboarding of employees, you can upload this into the system for your employees to sign off on immediately. So if you want to send an offer template, they accept it through the system, they immediately are putting in their W-9 information. And then upon accepting, there's also maybe 1 or 2 other things that they need to sign, maybe a non-disclosure, a non-compete. All of those can get set up and they're on that employee's account right away. So incredibly simple to use. It's why we use them. It's our only payroll and HR partner that we utilize and integrates directly into our system so that we can pump out financial reports to all of our clients as quickly as we can every single month. So that is on the payroll and HR side of it. Jumping back into the financials, I'll just zoom out a little bit for everybody here. So we will sync up to your bank and credit card accounts, similar to like a QuickBooks, and manage all of your financials, any loans that you have, any vehicle loans, assets, things like that you'll have. We'll manage everything for you, and we work with hundreds of agents around the country. So a lot of people might ask, how do you know, what things are? We just brought somebody on board the other day that needed a whole year's worth done. We were able to do all of that in about 30 days, with some priority on his account because we know you all, and we're able to understand what the expenses are without a lot of questions. So we do the accounting kind of in another screen here. What I really want to show on this screen is what do we do with it, right? So how do we really make the financials easy to look at, easy to read? So let's take a look here, and I know it says State Farm Countrywide Metrics. This is just our demo account here. But what this system does, this is what we refer to as the main financial dashboard of your agency. So every single client that works with us would see something like this on a regular basis. And so when you log in and to look at kind of whatever period you want to look at, this would be for October. The main things that you're looking at, again, not an income statement here. We can dive into that. But what this does is looks at the main metrics here. Okay, revenue growth. How are we doing in revenue growth period over period. So right now we're looking at monthly. So obviously, this might not necessarily happen without some bonuses here, but 70% revenue growth month over month is what the demo system's saying. Total revenue, expenses, profitability ratio. So section B really just looks at your top line numbers. Section C does a deep dive into your main lines of business, right? So looking at the revenue accounts that you primarily make revenue in every month. If we want to see everything, we can dive into the income statement. And then section D is incredibly important, and I'll load this up for everyone too. This takes a look at pretty much your entire income statement, but it rolls up all of these sections of the income statement into the categories of expenses and shows you, instead of the dollar amount, it shows you the percent of revenue that you spent in that account. So for, let's just say here, let's see, total revenue for this demo client was about 100,000 in this month. So what this is saying is that 47% of that 100,000 was spent on employee expenses, 10% of it on the building, 1% on supplies, 8% in marketing and leads expense, right? So we're able to just, at a glance, understand our entire financials by looking at the top 8 sections of our income statement. Excuse me. And so what this does is then sums it up down at the bottom in total operating expense so that you know right away how is your agency performing in that specific month. So if we want to then, the way in which you'd want to look at this is say, what we always tell agents is, numbers, financials, none of it makes sense unless you put it in perspective. So what you want to do is say, how is it doing compared to the target that you would set for yourself, right? So you'd work with us to really be able to build that out for you. And then how does it make sense compared to what the benchmark is? And so this benchmark can change based upon what grouping of agents you want to compare yourself to. So in this example, this is all the state farm agents that we work with around the country. Or we could say, well, let's just look at maybe some of the higher performers, those that are bringing in more than 50,000 in monthly revenue. Okay, let's start to compare yourselves there, or let's compare ourselves based upon the area of the country. Numbers don't make sense unless you put them in perspective. The first place is your own target. Second is, okay, how's this stack up to others? And then what you'll want to do is, as everything can ebb and flow throughout the year, one month you might be a little lighter on expenses, so profit is looking really high, but the next month you did have to make some investments, so that profitability is coming lower. But really we want to be at that target profitability throughout the year, and especially end the year at X% profitability, whatever that is for you. And so what you want to do is take a look at a month, but then you might want to back out and say, okay, well, let's take a look at a quarter. Let's say, okay, let's just take a look at how a quarter is doing. Am I at where I want to be? Okay, maybe for this quarter, I'm really not. But if I'm not for this quarter, how am I doing overall for the year? And then the system will be able to update, and you'll be able to say, okay, great. So far it looks like I'm X% over my budget, so I might have a little bit of wiggle room to make a couple more investments by the end of the year. But getting to those decisions, it requires you to make those decisions strategically by having the information to be able to make them. Biggest thing is trying not to make some of these what are pretty large decisions, whether it's investments in marketing, investments in a new team member or 2 or 5, is being able to say, can I afford that? Is that in the budget for really where I want to end my year? Or is that maybe something I should look at for next year? Okay. And then from here is diving into and having at your fingertips your financial statements, right? So within one click, I got over to an entire summary of my P&L, and a couple more clicks to look at detailed. I've got an entire income statement here, and you'll see that the sections come over the exact same from that previous KPI, the key performance indicator screen. But now you can see the entire set of accounts that make up that category here, from employees to building to supplies to what that marketing looks like here, business development, etc. And then from there, diving into compare screen, which really puts it a lot more in perspective. I've got this for a year here, but I'll say go to a month. And so what this does is it looks at all the agencies that we're working with around the country. And so every bubble here is an agency. But everything's blinded, so don't worry, you can't tell who's who. Everybody has kind of a company number. But what you're able to do, and what we can do here, let's say tenure, right? So you might want to start to look at agencies around the country based upon tenure, 0 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years, 5 to 10, over 10. What bucket do you sit in? Who do you want to compare yourself to? So we can always look at revenue numbers and say, okay, how do I stack up to people around the country? Okay, I'm doing fantastic, or hey, wow, there's some people really bringing in some revenue out there. But then we can say, okay, well, what are total expenses looking like for these people, right? Where do I stack up compared to this? What's the profitability ratio here? How much are they bringing in? How much of that revenue, that top line number, are they bringing in from certain lines of business? Or how much of it is coming from the bonuses that come once a year, right? So being able to dive in and look at it, and some of the things I would recommend too are doing things by percent. The best way to compare to others is not dollar for dollar, but always by the percentage, right? Because everybody's dollars amount is going to be different. But understanding it from a percent level is really where you want to go. So diving in, understanding marketing and promotion budget, looks like we've got some outliers here, but able to see, okay, average here is 9% of revenue, right? So where do I stack up kind of to the average across everybody? Either if you want to look at in your specific tenure across the country, in specific region of the country. Okay. And then the biggest thing too is being able to have access to reports as you need them. So being able to have your entire slew, and especially as many years as you end up working either with us, is being able to have access to this. Having something at your fingertips like your financials is one of the biggest things that you can do to really feel in control of where your financials are headed. Joseph, I'll take a pause there. I've been seeing, I think, a lot of maybe comments or chats coming in.
Yeah.
Any questions maybe that you have or some people have as we get to this point?
Yes, we have time for about 10 or 15 minutes or so of questions, and it's really interesting to me to be able to compare to other agencies of similar size and or tenure. I think that's really fantastic. Just be careful to not necessarily compare yourself too much. You might be in ultra growth mode and someone else might be trying to milk the book or live off the renewals or whatever. So do be careful, but knowing your numbers, looking at your profit, what's the bottom line? How many of us in years past, or even this year, have thrown a ton of money at leads, at marketing, at this, staffing, and then we wait 4 or 5 months, and then we look at it and be like, well, damn, that lead source is not so good. We're spending $400 an item on that lead source, or this person is not nearly contributing what they should be doing. The amount of lost income to what we just throw money at is insane. It's insane. Staffing, marketing, whatever. So especially next year, for many of us taking a pay cut with the chance to make it back in more, with very good grids. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. We have good grids for next year compared to this year. In many places, if you don't, it is what it is, right? We're going to help you crush your grids and crush your goals. But knowing where your money's going, we can't just keep throwing money. Honestly, you'd be better off investing that money elsewhere. Investing in real estate or other things instead of just throwing it at bad people and bad processes. So being able to see all these percentages makes it really clear. Someone asked, we'll get into some questions. Go ahead and chat some questions. Stephen and Mr. Woods has chatted a lot of questions. I think he's ready to sign up, but I'll get to Mr. Woods' questions in a second. Stephen said, what if I already use Geico and have an accountant? Can I benefit from your service? Oh, by the way, you should probably show them and clear, full disclosure. We have no relationship other than a conversation already, and they're coming to our event in Orlando. I think, if you guys want to sign up for Club Capital, it's amazing, but just know CWC gets nothing from it. So I thought when we did the demo, I was like, dude, can you do this for our members? Looking at these percentages is so clean and perfect and can help you make good business decisions. So just know that. But Stephen said, I use Gusto and I have a good accountant already. Can I benefit from adding your services? And if you don't mind, why don't you show them what the deal is, and then we can go into the questions a bit further. But that's Stephen's question.
Yeah, sure. So let me pull up. So good that you're using Gusto already. That's great. We can actually probably knock off a little bit of your setup fee if that's what's happening, if you're already there. And so I'll just show, gosh, where is it right now?
That's it.
Let me present here. So this is what pricing looks like for us right now. And I'll dive into this a little bit. The short answer to that is yes. So you would add us during the setup process. You would add us as an admin to your Gusto account. And if you mentioned you have an accountant, so you have someone that does taxes, you can still use them. The only part of our system that is a la carte is taxes. The thing that if you come over to us, you're using Gusto for payroll and you're using us for monthly financials. Should you want to stay with your current accountant for end of year taxes, you certainly can. About 80% of our clients use us for end of year taxes. But everybody, or not everybody, some people might have that relationship that they've had, either their brother, their sister, whoever, the guy who lives down the street, the guy that's giving you 10 referrals a week that might do your taxes, right? So you want to keep them. That is a la carte. So yes, you can totally do that. What our prices are, so we do have a one-time onboarding fee of $500. Our monthly accounting starts at $255 per month. If billed annually, or $290 a month. So less than $300 a month, really, to get everything that you saw before in us, plus the payroll package. So with Gusto, it's $39 base per month, and then it's either an additional $6 or an additional $12 per month per employee. And it's based on all the bells and whistles that you want within that platform. So you kind of pick which one you want there. And that actually, they bill you directly, right? So that's not included in us. What you get with us is we're the one that you go to for payroll support. So we handle anything. You got a question, you call Club Capital regarding generally anything that you got a question on during the month or year, whether it's you got a payroll tax notice. I mean, the amount of times states want to send something to you regarding some sort of payroll issue, you call us, we handle it for you. And then everything regarding monthly financials and reporting, that's all us. Okay. And then taxes start at about $750 a year, depending on what your tax situation is, but we can talk with you individually on that.
And this syncs very well with all kinds of major institutions. So the data is coming in every month, right? It's actually daily, right? There's data coming in from credit card statements, bank statements. How often are y'all reconciling that kind of stuff? And how often, this is a question for me, because I can't remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago. How often do I, as a business operator, go in and see accurate financials? Does it take like 2 weeks or 4 weeks to see the prior month and quarter and annualized at that point?
Yeah, no, great question. So we are in your account every week. Generally about once a week, we are in every single account. So that's primarily the thing that we're doing every week is reconciling bank or credit card transactions. So those things that are coming through automatically. So we will sync those up. What we need from you every single month is your compensation and deduction statements. So that's really all, because one of the cool things that we do is we don't just recognize the revenue. We break the revenue down into the lines of business, which makes it more valuable to look at, right? So we just need that every month. I think it's commission payment notification and then a compensation summary, I believe, are the two documents. And then obviously we'll need that by revenue center if you have multiple locations and things like that. But that's all that we need from you every single month. And then our goal is to produce your financial report, obviously, as soon as possible once the month closes. But our internal target is by the 20th of every month for the month prior. Right? So those are our deadlines internally. So obviously a lot of people are receiving them immediately, and it's based upon just back and forth communication. To maybe sometimes, obviously, you might find that this. We might have to remind you to send those commission payment summaries, and then we'll get those things published for you.
Richard asked, does this replace QuickBooks, or is this a supplement to QuickBooks? This is really a replacement, isn't it?
100% replacement.
Okay.
Yep. So you would not need QuickBooks anymore, and you would not, there's nothing required on your end to do in terms of bookkeeping reconciliation. That's all on us.
Casey asked, does the system automatically set up the expense categories, or is it something that we set up and can customize? Do you guys make recommendations for the expense categories? Can you talk about that? You talked about the income, and I love how you break it down, because many of us on this call are with Allstate. Next year we have the chance to make a lot more auto commissions and more other commissions as well. So it's nice to be able to see the breakdown by auto, property, financial. That's cool. What about the expense side of it? How customizable is that?
Yeah, it will be pretty, I'm going to call it pretty locked down on the expense side. So we have we'll call it a standardized chart of accounts that's really locked down on the revenue and expense side. And the reason why we do that is to be able to benchmark everybody, right? So the benchmarking comes in having the same categories, right? So that we can say, you spent this in this category, what did others do? Okay. Obviously everybody's got something different on like assets and liabilities, whatever you have there. So those are, we track whatever you need. We don't do any comparisons on that side of the house. If there is something incredibly unique, I'm sure we would definitely adapt for it. And it would obviously just be a non-benchmarking account.
How easy is the switch? My friend Rusty wants to know, except he's not my friend anymore since Auburn beat Alabama. Rusty's down there in Auburn. I'm not your friend anymore, Rusty. I'm just kidding. I've already forgotten that we lost horribly. But Rusty wants to know, how's the switch from QuickBooks Online to Gusto? What's that process kind of look like?
Clarify for me real quick. Is this on just in general, or maybe payroll versus accounting? If it's switching to Gusto, that's probably on the payroll side.
Yeah, though the QuickBooks Online is probably more of the accounting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, some people do use QuickBooks for payroll, so
right.
So I'll just kind of cover it kind of as a blanket statement. We take any lifting off of you, and that's what our team does. So we switch over people across both payroll and accounting. We switch between 15 to 20 agents a month right now. Incredibly doable. We've got a 45-day onboarding window. So generally you're onboarded payroll, onboard using our payroll system within 2 weeks. So generally your next cycle can be with us. Especially right now, this is kind of the easiest time to switch at the end of the year. So that I think your first payroll would be in the first couple of days of January. So easiest time to switch because we don't have to do as much kind of, we'll call it like back work for payroll of like showing the previous payrolls. So it's really easy to do on that side, and then making the switch on the accounting side, super easy as well. You can either have us do back work here, that's the second line item. If you need this year done, if you said, hey, look, I just haven't even done this year, we can do the whole year for you. Obviously, there's a charge for us to go back for the whole year. We do give a break on that. So instead of charging our $290 a month, we'll charge $200 a month for the year. Or you could say, hey, I just want to start January 1 and move forward, and not a problem. I mean, financials start clean 1/1 anyway. So we'll just get your bank accounts and credit cards set up effective with a 1/1 start date, and then we're good to go.
And is that offer, the $190 for the first 20 agents, still stand?
It still stands. I think we've got 5 left, for that.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago, so I know you've been doing people. But hey, I mean, I think this is an amazing platform. You guys might already be paying your accountants thousands of dollars a year to do reconciliations and things like that. This to me is a no-brainer. And honestly, I was looking into Gusto anyways for when I do my own deal at some point, right, in the next little bit. And I've heard people talk about Gusto. I had a demo of Gusto last month too. It's just weird how all this has come together. You guys are making some noise, and it says a lot when you have agents like Laura Harris that recommend you. I'm just saying, she's not even on this call, but that says a lot when you have someone with her, caliber endorsing you guys. Couple more quick questions here. Let's see here. I'm on ECP. Kyle is on an enhanced commission plan. So his commissions change throughout the year, like the percentages and stuff like that. Will this still work with him? I assume so, because all you guys are getting is the pay statements, and you're categorizing if it's auto, if it's property, if it's life or financial, whatever. So someone that's on an enhanced plan that kind of fluctuates comp can still work well with you guys?
100%. I'd say for something that's so variable like that, you need to be tracking your financials much closer.
Sure.
So that you know where you're at. Like if you know you're going to be down, you know your revenue is going to be down, your profitability is going to be much lower. So you need to make sure you're kind of keeping on average throughout the year. But yeah, if it comes through your bank or through your credit card, we can manage it, right? So whatever number we're seeing come through there is what we're recognizing. So we'll say let's just call it 50,000. If 50,000 is coming in from Allstate on the 20th of the month. We recognize that as revenue, and then we just want to see your comp statements to say, how should we split that 50,000 into different lines of business?
Casey asked a question, is there a way to sort revenue by employee, or probably not? So by the employee level?
So not yet.
Gotcha.
And so just to give to shed some light more on why we partnered specifically with one people platform, which is Gusto. Not only because they're amazing at what they do, but partnering with one allows for, so we're already one of Gusto's top 5 partners in the United States, maybe top 3. So the weight that we have on development with them is actually pretty huge. And so we're trying to figure out how can we continue to be more and more valuable all the time. And so the way in which we can do that, we're looking at an integration between Gusto and our reporting platform so that we can bring in payroll numbers into, so kind of non-financial numbers into the financial numbers, right? So one of them is like that, is I'm saying it's not going to be your like agency Zoom or something that's tracking commissions, but it's going to be able to say, I make X amount of revenue. How many employees do I have? So how much revenue do I make per employee? And then think about how valuable that stat would be benchmarking wise, right? To say, I make this amount per commissioned employee, maybe per commissioned employee. How much, are other people around the country making? So that's on the pipeline for what we're doing. But as of right now, no.
Renee, my friend Renee asked, does this only look at main carrier commissions, like Allstate or State Farm or Farmers or whatever, or does it include the expanded markets like the brokering business? I imagine if they upload, so we didn't really cover that. So the 2 documents you said that you needed every month was the income statement and the production statement, right? Or the two
Yep.
documents. They just upload those,
Yep.
and can they upload another commission statement from like other carriers and stuff for your people to go in and plug those numbers in for brokering?
The general answer is yes. It might, for some other carriers, because we've started to work with some independents as well. So as you can imagine, they've got 20 different carriers coming in. A lot of times what we'll do for them, just because the administrative burden might be too large for you to be uploading that many comp statements per month. But what we can do is when you get that revenue to your bank account, it'll say what general company it's from. And so then we can at least put that revenue into a revenue account that's for that company. Gotcha. So that you're Allstate, and then if you're getting something else from another company, we'll put it into a revenue account just for that company.
David asked if I wanted to transition from QuickBooks at a later date, could we start out with like a core package for payroll and HR at first and then do the bigger stuff later? If so, we need to do the $500 down. So do you have a kind of a baby step, or is it kind of an all or none thing on the accounting side particularly?
Right. Yeah. So when you sign up for us, you're signing up for both, right? So you're signing up for really everything minus taxes.
And now,
right?
To be fair, people don't have to do the payroll, right? If they're happy with Sure Payroll or something, they can stay with their own payroll if they want. The payroll's extra, right?
The payroll is outside of our fees, but we will not, if you're coming on board with Club Capital, you need to use our payroll platform, which is Gusto. So if you want to use us, we're migrating you from your current payroll provider, whether that's your payroll, ADP, Paychex, we're migrating you onto Gusto. Yep, so that is kind of something that has to come on board. And the reason why is because, first of all, it streamlines your life, right? I mean, you don't have multiple vendors, you don't have all this stuff, and you're not going to Paychex or someone else if something's wrong with payroll. You're calling the same guy that you talk to every month for your financials.
Great platform. Sorry, I'm just chatting to somebody who's on the call saying, I want to sign up. I'm like, yeah, I think this is a great platform. He said he hired an accountant last year, but they really haven't been as efficient as he had hoped. So let's see. Richard asked for the accounting back work again, catch up, so the $200 a month thing. If we sign up this month and they have to enter previous month's data. So like if they sign up this month and maybe you go back to last month, do they also have to pay the $200, or is that included in the first month? I guess is what Richard's asking.
If you need us to do last month, so if you have what's called conversion balances from your current system, from like your current QuickBooks or bookkeeper or accountant, we will start at whatever date those end, right? So they always end at the end of a month. So we'll start at the first of the month prior. If you sign up with us this month and need November done, we'll charge 1 month of back work. So it'll be $200 for that month, and then likely $290 for this month is generally what we do. There is, and you got to forgive me, I think you guys might know this too, I'm not our go-to sales guy every single day. So I forgot to mention this stuff too. So we do, our first 2 months generally are free. If you come on board with the taxes side as well, your first month is always free with us. And so in that case, you'd pay 1 month back work for last month, but this month would be free. If you come on board for taxes as well, we do give you an extra bump and give you your first 2 months free. And then if you come on board with taxes as well as do the upgraded payroll plan with Gusto, you get 3 free months of payroll. So generally, you come on board with us, you have at least 2 months of your entire back office is free.
A couple more quick questions. Angela, my friend Angela says, where do we go to sign up? Okay, look at there. I guess you were looking. So it's club.capital is the website, right?
Yeah, so we're super new and trendy, so we don't have a .com in our website name. So we are club.capital, so no .com, or you can just Google us. But on our main page, there's a big, I think, orange schedule a demo in the top right, or just I think we'll send this out maybe later, club.capital/schedule a demo. And you can sign up there and meet with either me or likely our Director of BD, Devin, and get signed up.
Peter had a couple questions about the HR side or like the time clocking side. So I'm assuming staff can log into the website to clock in and out. And yeah, I mean, Gusto has a pretty slick like mobile interface too for your staff. Like they can clock in, they can clock out, they can request. I'm holding up my iPhone here. They can request time off, you can approve. So the Gusto stuff, there's tons of information on Gusto's website, and they're not upcharging anything. And in fact, they're giving you free Gusto. That's phenomenal, right? I don't know how y'all did that. I guess y'all just have a deal with Gusto. But Gusto has some really cool videos, again, because I looked at it last month for myself, just looking around at stuff. Really slick, really super slick, easy to use, great experience for your for your employees. Like when they onboard themselves, it's all digital. They're entering their routing number, their account number, their tax ID, their tax withholding status. They're entering all that stuff. You're not jotting it down on a piece of paper and then having to key it in and all that junk, which I'm still doing to this day because I use roll. Anyways, so Peter, yeah, they can clock in and out. They can do time requests. Now, Peter asked another question about HR templates like offer letters, termination or review letters, employee handbooks. Is that y'all or Gusto? Or do you help offer letters?
Yeah, so that's through our partner, through Gusto. And so you can, there's multiple different tiers. We're on their top tier where they are, I think it's $100 more per month, just a flat fee, to have a full HR suite and people that we can call for anything. And this is an entire library of stuff that we can do, from any offer letter you can ever imagine, contractor offer letters, termination letters, anything that you need on the benefits side. If you've got a question, you can pick up the phone and call them. So that is more of their concierge service, only another $100 per month. Some people don't want that. What they do on the complete plan, the middle plan there for $12 per employee, what we actually do, so anyone that signs up there, we already upload 6 templates for offer letters for the main offer letters that you're going to have, right? So we go ahead and give you, so that you don't have to build them yourself. We upload the ones that you're going to have, and they actually have some base like responsibilities for your team lead, for your office manager, for your marketing associate, and everything's customizable for you, but we give you the head start there.
Last question from my friend Whit, who's an independent agent, and you answered this before I saw his question, but can we get a sample of chart of accounts be provided to determine compatibility? What about comparisons? So I guess he's talking about benchmarking comparisons to other independents, but also like the sample accounts and stuff. So you are working with independents like Whit, and you can help Whit potentially help him manage his numbers better and work with your platform?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Well, I would encourage all of y'all, and by the way, thank y'all for giving us some time. Hopefully you've learned some things about, what to look for, how to measure things, and what's important. Whether you use this platform or not, hopefully this has been a good 45 minutes or so. I would encourage y'all to reach out to Micah at club.capital. Check out their website, club.capital. We're looking at it. So that says a lot. And they're also going to be at our event in Orlando. So if you want to come and meet Micah and his team in Orlando in February for the February 20th and 21st event. But I want to thank you, Micah, for your time. Lots of things to consider. We must take more ownership of our expenses. How we're spending our money, where we're investing resources in staffing and marketing, in leads and buildings and people. We can't just keep throwing money to see what sticks. We need to be more leaner and meaner and more profitable. Lean, mean, profitable machine is something I've said a lot the past few weeks as I've been talking to owners about the changes, right? The changes that are coming next year for a lot of us. So fantastic resource. Micah, I'll let you take it out with any final words, but I just wanted to say thank you for your time. And I'm going to be putting this on the platform. I'll probably put this on our website somewhere to where people can view the recordings. So, I appreciate you being a resource for CWC members. Thank you, Micah. Anything to wrap up?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for being able to have me today. Good to interact with everybody here too, and look forward to chatting with you maybe over the next couple of weeks. And certainly, for I think a lot of your members that will be at the Orlando event, look forward to meeting you in person too. Just one thing to note too, there's kind of a lot of promotions going on today, but if you are interested in signing up with us, schedule a demo, likely be with either myself or Devin. Mention that you were on this webinar, and we'll do 25% off the onboarding should you come on board in the next couple of weeks or so. And definitely let us know if you need some help. It's tax time right now, so it's about to be tax time. We're getting ready. So if you need some help there, certainly let us know. We're happy to help.
You know what I found? When I stopped paying my taxes, they found me. They found me anyways. I'm kind of kidding. All right. We'll end with that. Everybody, I love y'all. If I can help y'all in any way, let me know. Thank you all for being a part of CWC and for being a part of this webinar. With that said, have a great rest of the week. And if I don't talk to you until then, have a blessed and Merry Christmas. See y'all later. Bye-bye.